You're listening to Story Struck. I'm Rachel, an editor and writing coach.
And I'm Nino, a ghostwriter and book coach. Welcome to our curious community where we dive into everything books and writing.
Now, let's get into the episode.
Welcome, everyone. Today we have the lovely Tammie Vecchiarelli, who is the author of Learning Who You Are, A Guide to the Clairsenses, and Learning Who You Are, A Guide to the Chakras. As very spiritual girlies ourselves, Rachel and I are super excited to have you on. Tammie, tell us about yourself, what you do, and how you came to write these wonderful books.
So I am a spiritual mentor and I got on this path of 10, 13 years of healing. And the modality I use, I help women to heal and understand their intuition, which is what these books are all about. And I help you to become your full authentic self. So that's really why I wrote these books, is because I feel like there is a disconnection within women where we just we kind of get outside of our body and we get outside of this connection that we have with the divine. So I feel like it's important to connect back within with that.
Yeah, and you had an interesting journey of crafting these books, didn't you?
I did,
Y-
yeah. It was very divinely led and very much based on my healing journey. The beginning of my journey was very much trial and error and learning by myself for the first 5 years, and kind of researching and reading books and like that kind of thing. So throughout all of that, now being in the mentor space, I really feel like there is this need. Yes, I feel like spirituality is becoming more known, there's more practitioners, but there's not like those basic books, the basic like information that we really need that is able to give you the information that you need, but also not impose values or ideas on you and giving you the opportunity and the space to be able to figure it out for you, what works for you. So that's kind of the way that I tried to craft the books is that yes, there's the information side, but it gives you the tools and the resources so that you can figure out the sauce for you.
I absolutely love that. And I think that the way that you've designed it as well, because I've been obsessed with like clairs and chakras. Like when I was a kid going to the library, like I wanted to get like all the witchy spooky books to learn about developing clairsenses and stuff like that. But they were all just very heavily focused on the skill development for the sake of the skill development and not really teaching you how powerful it could be for your own healing journey. And so I think that is what's really neat twist with your books is that like you have that sense of like helping them to discover themselves and to use these as practical applications in their real life versus I now can, use my clear senses and I can feel things and this and that and like, okay, that's cool, but having that deeper meaning behind it, I think is powerful because that's helped me in my healing journey as well. So when I heard about what you did in your books, I was like, oh yes.
And not only just like in your healing journey, but also like how you navigate life, Like life it's a time, y'all. It's a time. It's overwhelming and there's a lot going on. There's a lot coming at us at all times in all different directions. So to have some sort of guidance system in place to help you navigate life can be so transformational with how you move throughout this chaos spiral that we're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what it is. I think it's understanding your intuitive guidance system. That is the
Mm.
most, in my viewpoint, important thing because it really connects you to who you are. Not only who you are in the 3D space, but like who you are on a greater scale and understanding the gifts that you have and how you can use those in connection with your guides to really form the life that you choose.
And I think too, like a lot of us who are drawn to this type of thing, we are more sensitive to stuff. So, like myself being an empath, learning and understanding like the clear senses, the chakras, and things like that helped me to realize why I was feeling maybe drained or blocked, different types of things. And so I think that like that side of the learning is also helpful to understand, right, that whole holistic picture. So that way when I'm like, "Oh, man, like, this was exhausting to me," like, a business model that I had was, like, so draining, and I realized it just wasn't in alignment because I was taking on too much of other people's stuff, and so I needed to switch gears and have my work be more me and my bubble with very selective of, those smaller interactions with energy with people. And if I didn't understand that flow and how I was like receiving and giving and things like that, I would just be in this constant drain space, like creatively and professionally and life wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thing, and it's just like you have so much coming at you and you're absorbing all these things and you're like, why am I so cranky all the time? And until it wasn't until like I actually moved into having my own business and working from home that I'm like, oh, it wasn't me being a bitch. I was just overwhelmed. And then also when you are able to learn like how to connect and tap into that, you can then use this intuitive guidance to like follow a path that's more purposeful. I know that's a huge aspect for me in what I do is like, I know that I'm here for a reason. I know that I'm here to create change in this world through stories. And it was like a whole journey to get to this point. And in developing my intuition, found that prior to that, all of the stories we're told just kind of get in the way. So I know that you help people to discover their intuition. And what do you say to people who are like, "I don't have intuition. I'm not psychic at all." What do you say to them?
I would say, "Are you sure? Are you sure you don't?" And I always use the example of, you're driving down the road and the thing is, it's very quiet in the beginning. It's a whisper. And I don't think people even realize that there is that whisper that's there. And it could be the whisper of, I shouldn't go down that road because something's down there. And then how many times do people go down that road and then there's a cop there or there's an accident or something? That's your intuition. It's just taking that little whisper and turning it the volume up. And I don't think people connect that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that is definitely true. I know, like, there's the times where I was like, I should have trusted my gut. Like, there was just something that told me that, and I'm like, "Oh, poo poo on that, whatever." Like, that's silly. And then it's like, and so the more I've learned to trust that, the more I just go with it. And like now I'm just like, okay, something's off with this. Yep. Okay, we're done. Nope. And I'm like, I never have the proof now, but I know from past experience that that's what I need to trust and that's what I need to go with.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel like we're prescribed this notion by movies, books, whatever you want to call it, that, it's supposed to be like this loud, like screaming thing. And it can eventually become that, but it doesn't start that way because you need to gain the trust in yourself for that to be able to grow.
yes, I was just about to say that too. Like when we look at like movies and TV shows, like intuition and or like the clairsenses come across as like these giant things, right? We get the leading person has a whole flash in their mind and it's just like, oh, the whole vision of everything disappears and they're seeing everything in technicolor, but then when you're actually having a clairvoyant moment, it's not that. That's not what it's like. It's like remembering a dream, and things like that. And we don't realize that also it's not all clairvoyance. In fact, we all have our own internal thing. I know for me, claircognizance is my strongest clear sense. And I just thought I was clever, like, and I am clever. But also, like when I was able to literally just say the exact right thing in the exact right way to people at the time that they really needed it the most and stuff, and I just felt like, "Oh, it just kinda came to me." Like, I didn't realize at the time that that's what this was. And so when you were going through the writing process, because I know this writing process and stuff really kind of came to you in a very divine way, as you said already, but, you had that moment of, like, feeling called to this, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I definitely did. It was at the time I was taking a course. It was actually on my soulmate. And obviously that didn't come through, which is fine. But it was like this I knew for a long time I was meant to be a mentor. I knew I was meant to be in the spiritual space. It was just waiting for, like, the converging of moments of, like, when it was actually time, and it was actually not these books, it was a different book that came through first where in a weekend, literally, I was like, "Oh, I need to do this." And in a whole weekend, I wrote out a whole entire book. And I was like, "What is that?" Had never written a book before. I was like, "What is this? What just happened?" And it's not published yet because it's actually supposed to become a course because, things transition. But it was after that, it was like this influx and flow of like, okay, if I'm someone that's on a spiritual journey or I want to go on a spiritual journey, what do I wish I had at the time that I had started? And that's also the very much teacher brain coming out because I've been a teacher for the past 8 years. What is a way that I can do this that makes sense for people, but also doesn't block them at the same time?
Yeah, something that they can really apply. So one of the things that I talk about a lot is like the intuitive writing process to
Mm.
where you're using this. One of the things I'll go back a little actually. My brain's moving faster than my mouth. A lot of people come to writing their first book with a lot of these like limiting beliefs, right?
Mm,
This narrative that like I'm not a writer, blah blah blah, right? But they feel that draw, they feel that call to write something. And then my big thing is like leading people into an intuitive writing space. So they're not writing from their head, they're writing more from their heart and
mm,
in an intuitively aligned way. In my experience, things pour out so much easier. As you just illustrated, when you're feeling divinely called to something and you allow your intuition to lead with it, like it just pours out of you. What did that like feel like to you? Because I feel like a lot of people just cannot grasp the experience of that and like the energetic shift of a story pouring out of you in that.
yeah, for me, it was like this, I don't know, the spark. That's what I'm gonna call it. The spark of like, oh, I'm supposed to sit down and write this. And then it was, I have no idea how to like do this. And then I'm like, let's take away the ideas of like it's supposed to be formatted this way, like all of those kind of things, and just write. And then I feel like once I got rid of that and started writing, it was a lot of, okay, so this is for what I wrote. It's a lot of this is how I'm feeling, this is how someone might feel. And going back and forth and like creating this circular pattern of I felt this way at this point in time. This is how this person might feel, or these other five different ways. How can we like connect these together? That's what it was for me.
I think that's great, like, letting go of some of that rigid structure because Nino's been helping me with that, of getting more in touch with the intuitive side because 'cause I'm very Virgo. Like, everything's very regimented. I have to have, like, my complete outline in this arc, and, okay, now this book is like a series, so I'd plot out the whole series before I can start writing book 1. So, like, it just gets all, like, jumbled together, and it gets in the way of doing the writing where, like, when Nino's like, "Alright, just tap into it, like, just tap into that character and, like, just release and let them come, and so I would, like, go for a walk, get out of my mind space, and just be like, "Alright, what are we doing?" Like, Isolde, like, "What's up with this?" And then, like, it was just, like, a download of information of, like, "Well, this is my backstory, and this is that, and this is the world," and I'm like, "Well, you gotta slow down here," because it's, like, so much coming at me, but it was just really neat to get out of that space, and I think that doing that more intuitive flow is really great for people writing a first draft, because like, I'm an editor, right? So I'm very much about structure and, like, removing all the pieces, but that is really what comes after that first draft, and that I think, as I can see from myself and a lot of other people that I work with, that is the holdup of actually getting the writing down, and then if you do the writing when you go back and reread it, it doesn't feel like you. It doesn't sound like you because you were writing to somebody else's structure. You were writing to these very specific guidelines, and it really hampers your creativity. So I think it's really fun for people to experiment with that and be willing, as so many people we've talked with here, have that messy first draft where you are in the flow when you just get it out. And then you can go back afterwards apply that structure and see where changes need to be made, but you have that initial download and that groundwork to play with.
Yeah, rigidity definitely stands in the way of creativity a lot. And that's what your shitty first draft is. It is your big bout of messy uh creative energy that yeah. But then so being an intuitive person and writing, what is it, pantser is what it's called, right? You're just like, oh, I'm gonna write a story about this, and you just go without doing a whole heck of a lot of plotting and stuff. It does, like, you come back in edits and you're like, "Dang." Rachel knows. I'm editing my book, and that whole the second half, I'm like, "Oh, I gotta take this whole thing out." And I gotta change this part and stuff. Oh, I gotta add a chapter here. I didn't write a chapter that I needed to write. But the experience of it is like so intoxicating when you're just like living in this world and you're just writing and you're just like, what is it? Krista, who we had on, she was talking about it.
Mhm.
She's just writing and she's like, oh my God, what is happening? And she's surprised as it's happening. And she's like, she was talking about her sex scene and she was like screaming because she was like, that she's doing her sex scene, in her book and stuff because it's just like, it's coming through, it's pouring out, but you're just, like, along for the ride, and that's what makes it so, so exciting.
Yeah.
But I did wanna ask, so I know that you are in the middle of your memoir right now. Like,
Mhm.
the life in the middle of, like, the life living of your memoir right now, and it's so, so cool because your whole memoir is basically, like, you actually following your intuition in the most wild way possible, in a way, like, we say, "Oh, yeah, follow your intuition," when it's just like, "Oh, yeah, maybe turn right instead of left," and stuff, but you're like, "I'm gonna follow my intuition and go to the other side of the world." Do you wanna talk a little bit about your journey? Because I know you have, like, the blog going right now that's kind of telling people about this journey in the midst of the whole thing.
Yeah, so oh my gosh, the past 4 years I've been living in Poland, and during that time, I very much felt like Poland wasn't gonna be the end place kinda thing, and I spent that time trying to be like, "Okay, where do I wanna live long-term location-wise?" Which I knew was Italy, didn't know where in Italy that was gonna be. So, over the past 2 months, with my dog, 1 luggage, my backpack, that's it. I took a train multiple trains from Poland to Austria down to Italy, and during this time, because I'm me, a lot of people when they travel, they're like, "I need a scripted, like, timeline of, like, I'm gonna be in this place for a week, and then I'm gonna take this train." No, I didn't do it that way because that's not me. And literally my family's like, "What are you doing?" It was sometimes where I had a hotel that I had booked or an Airbnb, and I'm like, "Okay, so I need to be out of this place on Sunday. It's Friday. Where am I going next?"
And she's writing blog posts about this as she's going on these crazy adventures where she's just like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna go look at this fountain one day," and then, like, a crazy thing happens, and just, like, so many amazing stories, like, just built into this just because you're like, "Hmm, my intuition says do this. Okay." And then you just run off and do it.
Literally, exactly, and it's been such an interesting journey because there was, like, this whole 2 months of me traveling and, having fear mindsets that I'm working through and, like, am I actually gonna be able to do this? Am I gonna survive? And, like, working through all of these different emotions because, as you go on this journey, it's not like the normal thing that people do. That, like, how am I actually going to accomplish this? And as I go on this journey, am I actually going to be able to do the thing that I want, which is find the place where I wanna live, which I did, by the way. But now it's like, okay, I'm out of that place, I'm in the States, actually, and it's like, okay, now that I'm in the States with family, how do I ground that in and actually make that life that I want actually happen?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, and we were just talking to Haley on one of the episodes about like how the author of the Martian, like how
Yeah.
he put blog posts up, like basically chapter by chapter of his story, and that's how he like built up a reading audience for his book. So whenever he published his book, he already had people who were like, "Oh yeah, I totally want to read the whole story of it," because he had people already invested in what was happening, even though they read the blog. And then it eventually got picked up traditional and stuff, and so when you were telling me about the blog that you're doing, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is what's gonna happen for Tammie, because it's literally like she's living like an eat, pray, love kind of life, but as an intuitive who is being so bold in following her intuition and then allowing for like the healing process and discovery process to occur. So it's going to be such an amazing memoir whenever it is out into the world, but in the midst, we can always go and keep up with your story on your blog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and, like, that's a great, like, marketing tactic. Alright, it was alright, too crazy, right, for synchronicities. This morning, I actually listened to a thing that was, like, 8 or 9 years old that was a clip of him talking about The Martian and how he had done like, he, like, blogged each chapter and, like, people would give him, like, feedback and comments, and then he used all of that when he actually put it into a book form because people were like, "We love this so much." That but we don't he said that Seiko said, "They said your website's terrible and it sucks. So, like, we don't wanna read it on your website or, like, read it in blogs. Can you put it all in one thing?" So we put it in one thing and they're like, "Okay, well, we really don't want to read it still on the website. Can you put it on Amazon?" And so, like, he had all these iterations and he just built up this following of people and was able to use that momentum. That's something we always talk about here that, building your audience while you're writing the book. And for you, right, this is like dual purpose because it's for your book, but it's also for your business. So it's like serving you in so many ways. And that is just a great way too to get like a temperature check with people and what are they resonating with? Are they saying, "Oh my god, we love this story, we'd love to hear more about this story," and then you can use that information as you're writing the memoir and putting it together of saying, "Okay, I want to flesh this out more, like this really hit, why did this hit with them so much?" And things like that, like that just gives you so many little pieces to help make like, the next version even better because like, the blog is like, write your messy first draft essentially, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's my messy first draft that I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. We're just posting this and see where it goes. Yeah.
Awesome. What other questions do we have?
See, I thought of something and then I lost it because I heard Loki at the door. Give me 1 second and I'll hopefully get it back. So, okay, so this is, doo-doo-doo. All right, so Tammy, when we think about, shoot, you do work with chakras with clairs and things like that. And so I love chakras. I'm a Reiki practitioner. And so I'm always thinking about the flow of energy for like our folks who maybe aren't really as familiar with it. When you think about creativity and writing and things like that, and getting blocked energy, do you have any thoughts that you can share with like maybe we where we might feel this blocked energy if we have it? And what's something that we could maybe do, even if we don't know a lot about it, to help release some of these blocks?
Yes, I love that. So I think it goes back to, like you said, the chakras and tapping in to your energetic body and sitting in it and understanding and feeling. I feel like that's one of the first things that I learned was yes, we can learn about the chakra system, this is this color, this is this energy, that kind of thing. But unless you actually connect it to your physical body, there's that disconnect that happens. So if you can read up on it and then connect in with yourself and say, okay, my heart chakra kind of feels this way. This is the energy that's happening. Does it feel balanced? Does it not feel balanced? I think from there is where you can figure out where the blocks are because you're connected in with yourself.
That's really great. I know, like, for me, I would notice, like, a lot of, like, in the throat and in the heart. And so, like, I did some, like, reflecting on that for, like, the throat. Like, when I was, like, originally doing my first story, it felt very heavy. And I was like, "Oh, but I really, really, really wanna write a cozy mystery." I love reading those, like, it feels good, and, it just that, like, was the safe choice, right? Because like, I'm like, "That's what I know, go for it." But it just, I kept just feeling like I couldn't get it out, and then, like, Nina was helping me kind of tap into more of that intuitive side and like, "Okay, well, what doesn't feel good? Why doesn't it feel good?" And I realized that well, that's what I thought I should be doing, right? The shoulds. What was really calling me was writing something that was darker, that, like, I actually like to write dark, and I didn't think that that was what I would want to write, and as soon as I started to embrace that, like, everything just lifted and stuff started flowing, and so I think, like you said, paying attention to where something is in your body, and even if you don't necessarily know the chakras, right, like, we know kind of what the heart's about. We kinda know we speak from our throat, or, like, in your stomach, like, we always say, "It was like a punch to the gut," or "I trusted my gut." Like, kind of you don't have to know tons about the chakras to, I guess, kind of, like, understand the basics of, like, some of those that are, like, kind of the most common ones we might feel something in.
Yeah, exactly. I think the chakras are just a guidance points to really understanding and feeling into your body because you can feel into your body and say, "Oh, this feels stuck here. This feels stuck here." You don't
Mhm.
know about the chakras to know where this energy feels stuck.
And that's one of the things I really like about what you do is that you are helping to guide people in a way they won't need you eventually. That's one of the things like in the spiritual community, we like to give away our power a lot. Like I need to hire this person or that person in order to understand or do this stuff instead of developing it ourselves because we all have that capability, you know? And then also the spiritual community kind of teaches us that we have to do that, like a shady marketing tactic or maybe some like leftover stuff from religion. You know what I mean? And so like whenever you are actually teaching and guiding people, like eventually they won't need you anymore. And you're happy about that. You're like, good.
I am. Like, I feel like that to me is, "Okay, I did a good job. Okay, you're ready to move on to the next person that you need. You're ready to become a mentor yourself, whatever it may be. If you don't wanna be a mentor and you just, like, know who you are at that point, that's what it should be. It shouldn't be like, of course, because I you end up developing a relationship with these people. So, of course, like, you don't want them to leave your life because you end up loving them and caring for them and that kinda thing, and you want them in your life in that way. But I want you to be your full authentic self and who you are. I don't wanna hold you back from that because if I do that, then I could be depriving the world of your gifts and what you're meant to be here to do and how you're meant to raise the collective and whatever your special gifts are that I don't have.
It is such an
Exactly.
empowering sentiment. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what's missing a lot is that empowerment piece. You
Mhm.
know, in no matter what type of guide you are with things, like you want people to feel empowered when they work with you. You don't want them to feel dependent on you because it's when they start feeling dependent on you that it gets to be an unhealthy relationship as some sort of coach or guide or mentor, you know? And that might bode well for your wallet for a while, but is it really ethical? And that's one of the things that I know we all very much value is the ethics of what we're doing because we all care about the impact that we're having in this lifetime on this planet, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and I mean, like you said, it might help your wallet, but then in the end, will it really? Because if you're in that energetic state, maybe it helps you right now, but then how will it be down the line? You know, will you be in energetic alignment? That's where the question comes in.
And so for our listeners who want to get more into that energetic alignment, you have your 2 books here, the one about the clairs, the one about the chakras. Is one a better entry point than the other for someone, or does it kind of depend on what they wanna get?
I think it's dependent on what they get, what they want. I feel like everyone comes into their healing stage in a different point, you know? Some people start out doing Reiki, some people start out doing past life regression, emotion coding, whatever it is. It's whatever your soul, your being needs at that time. And that's what's important. That's why I started this collection, and there will probably be more in the future. You know, it's a pick your own path kind of thing.
So could you tell us real quickly, like, if someone was trying to think about one or the other, like, what's the best kind of person or, like, what you're looking for the chakra book versus the Claire book in case they're unsure?
Yeah, so I would look and see one where you are at in life. You know, what is the thing that you feel like you want to develop at this time? Are you wanting a deeper connection within when it comes to your intuition, when it comes to your guides? Or Are you looking more of that energetic space? You know, maybe health is a concern. Is that the area that you're wanting to go down? They're very different paths in a sense, but they're not because in the end they all converge. So it's not that I'm choosing this book, this path over this path. At some point in time, I'm sure they will come back together kind of thing. So it's just which one is of importance to you at this time.
Awesome. Thank you.
I can I can see how the chakra guide would be helpful for people who are just trying to learn how to feel into their bodies, people who are
Hmm.
very, very stuck in their head. Because I know for me in my journey, yoga was my first door into the healing process for me. Like you said, we all have our like first thing and that is important guidance to have, like identifying, okay, I feel drawn to this thing, this healing modality. That's great. That is a door to open to explore. And it doesn't mean you have to be stuck with it forever. Like, it doesn't mean you have to become a yoga teacher just because you're feeling really resonant with yoga. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for me, it was like connecting with the chakras and learning how to feel into my body because I was so trapped in my head all the time, which is I think why I'm probably really great at guiding people who overthink because I've been there before, you know? So like tuning into the chakras, just tuning into where you feel that energy is a little easier to decipher initially than that intuition portion, at least in my experience, because, like you said, the intuition was a whisper. And when you're an overthinker, man, do we gaslight ourselves so much. Even now, even now, like all of the things. And I know, Tammie, you've gone through it too. Like you're this amazing intuitive person who trusts their intuition so well. And even now, you message me sometimes and you're just like, I think I'm just like gaslighting myself here and stuff all the time. And it's because that's how we are trained, particularly when you're socialized as female. So, so that was just my 2 cents on that. I think going with the chakra, if you're really needing to learn how to just get in touch with your body and get out of your head for a minute, and then move towards learning how to listen to your intuition. Because combining those two things and identifying, I'm feeling really, really overactive energy in my root chakra. Am I not feeling secure and safe right now? Yeah, let me look at that, is important, especially like as writers or as business owners and because like that regulation is important for our creativity and for our longevity and how we avoid burnout, But then also that intuitive piece in knowing, okay, I know I should go this direction with my book. I know I should go this direction with my business. I know I should go. It's just magic. It's all magic. Words are magic.
Well, second that. Like, once I heard you talking about it and I was thinking back, I'm like, that is kind of what it made it click for me too. Because I was very interested when I was younger, in the intuitive development. We didn't really have much about chakras and things like that. When I was younger, like there weren't books in the library about that. Even the books about intuition were very limited. Like the witchcraft section was very small. Things have changed and I love it. So, I kind of was interested in it, but the material, all I had was books, and it didn't really make it click, and I kind of put it to the sideline because people kind of made me feel like I was a little weird or crazy or, things like that. And then in I don't know if it was like my late 20s maybe, is when I discovered like Reiki, holistic health, things like that. And they started becoming a little bit more of the forefront. And I started looking into Reiki, and then with my psychology background, I dived into EFT and like all of these different types of things. And once I kind of had that understanding, it made the Claire work click just a
Mm.
little bit more, at least for me, but it also might have been I had so much blocked stuff around developing my intuitive stuff because I just kept like shutting it down, shutting it down, shutting it down. So I think it's just kind of really interesting for people to have fun and explore. And, if you try one and it doesn't feel quite right, then maybe look into the other one because maybe that's where you need to do the work first to bridge the gap to do the other work. Because that's kind of was my experience. And Yeah, that was just really neat, when you said that, and I'm like, "Huh, exactly right, that's what I did too."
And I have to tell you, I looked up at one point because as you were talking, my fan went off. Like, it just turned off.
Oh,
What was that? I don't know why.
well, I'll tell you, all the weird stuff happens when, like, Nino's talking. Like, yesterday we were talking about something, and I was listening to her voice memo, and I'm like, "Dude, I just had a hummingbird go into the pine tree outside my window in October." I'm like, there's nothing out there. Why is it going into like, I don't know." And, like, so we were just like, "Wow." And that happens all the time when I'm talking to Nino. Like, it's wild.
Cool. All right, Tammy, before we go, any final thoughts, any directions? Where can people find you? Give us all of the things.
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram at Aurora Relationship Healing. If they want to find the books, they're on Amazon and my blog is on Medium. If they want to get to the blog, they can just go through my links in my Instagram. But I would love to
We'll
connect.
also have them linked down below in the show notes.
Yeah. And I hope that my hope for the books is that it reaches the people that it's meant to and they gain something in their development, really. I, I would, like you've said before, I didn't write them because, I was going to make a lot of money kind of thing. I made it that I feel like it's a piece that's missing in the spiritual space. And I really want people to be able to develop themselves in whatever way they need help, whether it's reading a book like I did, or, having a mentor, done that too, whatever way it is, whatever works for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And we will have everything linked below so that people can find you and all that jazz.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Check out the show notes for details and links from the episode. And don't forget to subscribe and follow for more. Special thanks to our composer, Micah Silverstein. Enjoy the rest of the music.